Halloween is right around the corner, so I think it is fitting that we look at some ghost-type Pokemon figures. And nothing fits the spooky season quite like the original ghost Pokemon from Generation 1. In this video, I'll do a retrospective review on Tomy's original versions of Gastly, Haunter, and Gengar. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I like to point out is these three figures are the CGTSJ versions. This is the most common version of the vintage figures, which were released in the late 90s and early 2000s. Let's first take a closer look at Gastly. Here's the CGTSJ Gastly. It is a cool looking figure, especially with the purple translucent plastic on its back. The translucent ghost cloud really looks sweet, making this figure one of the best from the original vintage line. The eyes are really big and the mouth is open wide, which accurately depicts the Pokemon in the game. To tell that it is a genuine Tomy figure, all you gotta do is look at the back, which shows the copyright stamp. Next up is Haunter. The first evolution of ghost Pokemon may not look as cool as Gastly, but it's still a fine looking figure. It comes with a clear base and the copyright stamp is imprinted on the back. The one flaw that hurts it the most is its size. The figure is the smallest of the bunch, but not by much. Some collectors may not like the base, but I think it is fine because it keeps the figure standing up straight. Having the base be a clear plastic also helps when identifying counterfeits. In fact, I happen to have a counterfeit figure to show you. Right beside the real Haunter is a fake. They are the same size. However, the fake is darker in color and the base is a solid brown. Also, the copyright stamp isn't as clean as the real figure. Although there are tons of counterfeits out there, it is easy to spot for the ghost Pokemon. So when you're on the hunt for these figures, please be careful. With that out of the way, let's take a look at the final evolution, Gengar. The CGTSJ version of Gengar comes in a dark purple translucent plastic. This is perhaps one of the best Tomy figures of all time. Not many vintage figures come with this style, so seeing it on Gengar is really cool. Even with a simple pose, the figure still looks great because the sculpt is a perfect rendition of how the Pokemon looks in the game. Although this figure is fairly easy to find, it still comes with a hefty price in the secondary market. It's all because Gengar is a really popular Pokemon. However, there's a more recent version of Gengar. Not as cool as the vintage version, the newer one is definitely much cheaper to get and the quality is still just as good. Speaking of different versions, there are a couple of variants of the vintage Gengar that could be mistaken as a bootleg. One is the later version of the CGTSJ Gengar. With the original version next to it, you can tell the later version is a little lighter in color. Another way to tell the difference is by looking at the copyright stamp, which isn't indented but rather protrudes outward. A lot of the later CGTSJ Generation 1 Pokemon have this type of copyright stamp. This can confuse some collectors thinking they are counterfeits when they are actually genuine figures. I don't know the value on the later version, however, I do know it is much harder to find. It is also just as awesome looking as the original, even when it is a little lighter in color. Another figure that looks just like the CGTSJ version is the Basic Fun keychain figure. The one here is still intact, but you will most likely find these figures without the chain and keyring attached. Most Basic Fun figures aren't as good in quality as Tomy, which can sometimes be mistaken for counterfeits. However, the Basic Fun Gengar is actually a very good looking figure. In fact, it looks almost like the CGTSJ one. The only difference besides it having a keychain attached is that it is smaller. Even though the Basic Fun figure is smaller and not as good in quality, it can be worth just as much, if not more, than the vintage figure. So if you ever find these, don't pass them up, especially if they are at a good price. Well, that's it for this episode. I hope it was entertaining and informational. If you enjoy these kinds of Pokemon videos, please let us know by leaving a comment. We will be doing more figure reviews in the future, so please subscribe if you haven't yet. Also, support this video by giving it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. See you next time.